Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to part 5 season 1 of What If Midoriya Was an AFO Fan. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Midoriya waited patiently for his inevitable acceptance letter. Apparently Dr. Yujiko was over the moon about the success in implementing Monoma's quirk into Midoriya's claw pack, allowing him to mimic the quirks of the past 5 people the pack has scanned in the last 24 hours. Only one glaring problem was the power sources to replicate a quirk synthetically through a machine, as after using a quirk to its limit the pack would be forced to eject one of 5 power sources. If Midoriya ran out of those in battle, the pack was just another pair of hands with metal claws. Midoriya spent his days studying up on the staff members of UA, making sure he can fly under their radar for as long as possible. From time to time, Midoriya also went to hang out with Shigaraki, Kamakiri, and Monoma. They'd grab something to eat, hang out at the league's base playing on Shigaraki's massive collection of consoles, playing video games against each other. Monoma was finally settled and warmed up to being a villain now. He'd voiced his concerns and worries to Midoriya but remained adamant to keep his word in supporting the cause. Nonetheless, Midoriya made sure to keep his eyes on Monoma, even going as far as to ask if his master had a memory manipulation quirk, which all he got was a chuckle and a nod. So it seemed Midoriya could deal with Monoma non-lethally if he ever turned traitor to avoid suspicion. Finally, the mail had arrived. Midoriya had received a letter from UA, but oddly enough his mother had a package too. Strange, but ultimately it was none of his business, and Izuku went up to his room to get his results. He opened the letter, not getting what All for One told him to expect. There was no small projector disc. Instead, there was a letter penned by Nezu himself. Dear Izuku Midoriya, after your exemplary performance and demonstration of leadership skills, it should come as no shock that you have joined the numbers of heroes in training here at UA. Congratulations. Now, as for your score, you received 293 villain points, but we also had a hidden scoring system, hero points. You gained what we all agreed to be fair for your actions of saving the young Miss Yaoyorozu with the assistance of a team, and not only that but formulating a successful and cohesive plan when faced with insurmountable odds. Therefore, we all agreed to award you and your teammates 200 hero points each, bringing your total to 493, earning you the top spot in the entrance exam. Normally, someone with this many points is assigned to Class 1A, however, it was decided that because you are more familiar with Vlad King, you will join his class in 1B. Sincerely, Nezu. Midoriya had to admit this was different. He was receiving praise for doing something good and it felt weird. No, weird wasn't the right word. Wrong was far more fitting. Villains don't go soft just from a few compliments that'd probably be given to anybody. Yes, Midoriya now saw through Nezu's hollow praises. No doubt he says the same drivel to any student who takes the top place. Izuku Midoriya slid open the large door to classroom 1B and took in his various classmates, noting 3 familiar faces: Monoma, Kamakiri, and that girl from the exam, Kendo. Midoriya slowly made his way to his seat, passing a girl with vines for hair and seating himself beside a window. And this vine-haired student who was praying. To each their own, Midoriya guessed. Then Vlad King walked into the room and stood at the front of his class, looking them over and giving a smirk. Before he could begin, Midoriya gazed out the window and raised his hand, watching Momo fire a ball out of a small cannon. Sensei Vlad, what exactly is Sensei Aizawa's class doing? Shouldn't we be doing the same? I mean, if we want to stay on equal footing with one of that is. Vlad looked out the window and grunted, then looked at Midoriya and started nodding at him. You know what? You're right, I'm sick of playing second fiddle to Wanna every year. Everyone go get changed and meet me at the field time. We show Wanna we aren't to be taken lightly. We can do introductions afterwards. Vlad smirked with a cocky grin, ready to put Aizawa's class in their place before the year had even begun. All the while, his class filed out towards the 1B locker rooms. Midoriya began putting on his suit since Vlad technically hadn't said he couldn't use it. He then equipped his claw pack, getting it ready to scan and mimic quirks later. As Class 1B walked down a hall toward the field, Midoriya was approached by a large student with glasses and covered in hair. He kinda looked like a race of aliens from the Space Wars movies. Hello, I'm Shishida. Strange question, but did Sensei say you could use stuff like that? He posed his question so politely, and he carried himself as a fellow intellectual. Not at all what Midoriya was expecting, to be honest. He thought this boy would be some hulking brute. Still, this could be a problem down the line, dealing with someone who seemed equal parts strong and intelligent. They say brain before brawn, but clearly Shishida got both. Midoriya calmly responded to him with a smile as he held his helmet to his side. Well, first, nice to meet you, Shishida. I'm Midoriya. As for your question, well, I'm someone with a very tactical mind, and I tend to use logical loopholes whenever they show up. So to the point, Vlad Sensei may not have said we should use this stuff, but he didn't say we couldn't either. An argument I will likely have to present to Aizawa Sensei when we get there. As Midoriya answered Shishida's question, he got a thoughtful nod and a smile in return that showed off Shishida's jutting bottom fangs. Whilst they walked, Midoriya scanned the class for useful quirks for his pack to copy. Vines, yes please. Big Fist, don't mind if I do. After collecting those quirks, he decided to put his helmet on before the sunlight touched his freckled face. Huh, what are those extras doing out here? Shouldn't they be at orientation like everybody else? I thought it was just us doing this. Bakugo barked, clearly displeased at seeing Class 1B coming to threaten his spotlight, but he took his attention off them as Aizawa argued back and forth, something about the other class having as much right as 1A. Alright class, change of plans, we're gonna be joined by Class 1B for this, on the condition that the lowest 2 scoring students are expelled from Hero Studies and downgraded to General. So I expect all of you to stay above the 40th and 39th places. This received worried murmurs and moans, some students arguing about the situation's unfairness, and this just pissed Midoriya off. Midoriya loudly exclaimed through the voice changer within his helmet, "Shut up and grow up, all of you. Hate to say it, but congratulations, you've just found out life isn't fair and it'll just get worse when we graduate, so get used to it. This isn't kindergarten anymore. In this society, mankind is not created or treated equal. In fact, we never were. Some of us are strong and some of us are weak. This is the first time we've been given a real challenge, so step up or pack up." Everyone stood speechless, even a peeping All Might from around the corner. While he had to admit this kid made valid points but was a bit jaded and harsh about making them, he still felt an air of dread around him, and that helmet felt far too familiar for comfort, but only he and a few heroes knew of All For One, so it was impossible this kid knew about the likeness. Little to say, most everyone shared All Might's thoughts on Midoriya having good points but being a little harsh about it. Midoriya stepped up to the bowl toss, scanning the class and even Aizawa and Vlad. Erasure, sure, why not? Engine, I guess. One more slot. Gotta pick wisely, Midoriya thought to himself. Wait, what was this one and who had it? One for all. Perhaps he should copy it, but best not to use it. Sounds too much like Master's quirk. It can't be a coincidence. Okay, he had what he needed, time to throw the ball. Best just use telekinesis on this. Midoriya pulled back with his arm like a pitcher in baseball. He threw the ball as hard as possible, blasting it skyward with his quirk as hard as he could the second it left his palm. Midoriya shouted again through his voice changer, completely unaware of the shockwave he had made that had knocked the unprepared onto their backsides and cracked the ground beneath him. He looked toward Vlad and Aizawa, waiting for his score. And he waited, and waited, before finally, yeah, we're gonna need a new ball. Midoriya, infinity. That thing's in orbit now or further. As Midoriya waited for the rest of his class and Class 1 to finish, a brunette by the name of Uraraka patted his shoulder, introducing herself and saying she also got infinity thanks to her gravity quirk. Interesting, a quirk that makes things weightless, that could be mighty deadly if used correctly. And could she increase something's gravity if she trained her quirk the right way or had the right support gear? Midoriya pondered before he was called up to the next test. Next up was a 50-meter dash. Well, it was a good thing he could now use telekinesis on himself. 2.5 seconds, not bad if Midoriya did say so himself, which he did. Test number 3, grip strength. Okay, time to use 2 quirks to really push that score. Telekinesis plus vines. The claw pack opened up, letting out a claw that then opened its palm at the grip item as several mechanical vines shot from the palm of the claw, wrapping around the device before eventually there was a loud crunch. Midoriya was approached by Aizawa, who prompted him to release it, and all that was left were scraps in the vines. Aizawa let out the deepest sigh imaginable. For God's sake, Midoriya, stop breaking or losing our equipment. It's your first day and you've lost a ball and broken a grip device that is meant to withstand immense pressure. I know we said don't hold back, but just stop destroying things. I thought Enko trained you in control. Looks like I'll have to mark you as 1000 plus for this test. As Aizawa walked off groaning, Midoriya glared daggers at him. How did that hero get on a first-name basis with my mom? Izuku screamed internally, but he couldn't let his rage free and attack a hero. No, not yet. Alright, standing long jump, standing long jump. Okay, he could do this no problem, just like the others. Once again, 2 quirks wouldn't hurt, would it? Telekinesis plus engine. Yes, that'd work. Midoriya got in jumping position, focusing telekinesis into his feet to springboard him forwards and upwards as his claws moved into position, pointing behind him with 2 engines identical to Ada's pointing from their palms. Using the combo, Midoriya overshot the sandbox by a good several meters. The sidesteps test was a joke. Midoriya just dug his claws into the ground as anchors and let them pull him left and right. When the testing came to an end, the results were displayed for the classes. Midoriya was sitting pretty at first, unsurprisingly. With her again, that Momo girl right behind him in second. In 40th place was Minta, and 39th was a girl called Hagakure. Typical, sorry you two, but that's the breaks. Get your stuff and clear out of my classroom in the 10 lockers. Midoriya watched the 2 moving and sensed opportunity. Yes, this was the perfect moment. Their dreams were shattered. 2 teenagers who, if given the right training, would be ideal villains. Mr. Aizawa, sir. With all due respect, I don't think anybody here deserves to be removed from the hero course, not Class 1 or B. No, I've looked at everyone in action here today, and they each have fascinating quirks that can still be of use. I mean, did you not see Minda during the entrance exam? As for Hagakure, well, she is invisible. Just saying, not many people can fight what they can't see if they even know she's there to begin with. I suggest you reconsider, or you could seriously risk putting your class at a massive disadvantage by losing such potential. Midoriya spoke confidently, holding his helmet by his side, letting people see his face and hear his normal voice. Midoriya's arguments resonated with Aizawa as he remembered his time in UA when he first joined. If a teacher put him through this test, he'd come in last place or just above it too, and he had to admit this. Perhaps expulsion from his class was too harsh for two students that had such promise. All right, you're right. Minda, Hagakure, you get to stay, but don't think I'm letting you off easy. Extra training after classes every Wednesday. Understood. Aizawa watched as the two started bowing at him repeatedly for reconsidering his choice to expel them from heroics. He walked away from them, mumbling they should be thanking Midoriya and not him. Midoriya quickly approached Minda and Hagakure as everyone else left the field, dismissed for the day. He smiled at them, introducing himself properly. Mid-roll, NordVPN. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. In addition to providing you with safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 streaming services to watch your favorite anime? Well, with NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming service with just a press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years divided by $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. I can't believe those heroes were ready to just kick us to the curb and act like we were never hero course students. Heck, Minda was in the top 10 with you, Midoriya. By the way, thank you so much for standing up for us. Looks like these two were definitely ripe for manipulation. Time to grow the league's numbers, Midoriya thought, smiling back at Hagakure as she thanked him. Me either, I'm used to pros being harsh on me, but you guys, that was just stupid. How can Aizawa not recognize your potential? Seriously, you think he of all people would see it, but guess he is just as bad as the rest. Midoriya let out the lure, and he most definitely got a bite from both of them as they asked, almost in perfect sync, what he meant. Hey, it's tricky to say, but well, perhaps it's better to speak of this another time. We all got places to be right. Tell you what, join me at lunch and I'll tell you all about it. Agreeing to his offer, the other two walked off with someone nearby spying on the trio's conversation. The student from Wano with the earphone jack quirk, Kyoka Gyro, and she'd be lying if she wasn't interested to hear what Midoriya had to say too. Soon enough, Midoriya texted Kurogiri to pick him up. He had something to show, all for one. Fully known to Midoriya, he was being tailed by Bakugo, and with a smirk he rounded a corner into an alley and a waiting portal. Then as Bakugo reached the alley, it was empty. A dead end. Damn Deku, how did he just vanish? Did he copy that dumb invisible girl's quirk using his weird backpack? No, Deku was never a coward. He'd always face Bakugo, quirk or no, so where did he go? Far away from Bakugo. Midoriya knelt before All For One, offering up his claw pack for his idol. What is it, tactic kill? Do you no longer want the claw pack? Midoriya shook his head at his master as he moved and plugged a laptop into the pack to show the quirks it had scanned today. All For One examined the list. Engine, Vines, Erasure, Big Fist, and One for All. You managed to scan my brother's quirk that he's passed down from nemesis to nemesis of mine. This quirk, did it belong to a student? Tactic kill. All For One demanded answers from Midoriya as he quickly kneeled, terrified he had done something wrong to enrage his idol. And no, master, no, I don't know who had it. I didn't use the quirk as it sounded far too similar to your own. All For One calmed himself after his outburst. Sighing at Midoriya reaching out for the boy's head, Midoriya closed his eyes, fearing what was coming. His quirk was going to get taken. He'd messed up. He was going to lose his quirk and likely be killed. These were Midoriya's final thoughts before All For One touched his head. What came next brought Midoriya to tears. He hadn't experienced anything like this. Not ever. It was wonderful. Midoriya felt All For One ruffling his messy green hair as he warmly chuckled at Midoriya whilst he patted the young tactic kill's back. This was something Midoriya had wanted for so long that he felt like it would never come and had repressed the desire for it. He didn't think he wanted fatherly approval this much, and yet here it was coming from a man who wasn't even his biological father. What All For One said next broke the dam of repressed daddy issues and waterworks that followed. You never have anything to fear from me, Izuku. Nothing. Ever since you began making waves in the league, I have grown to see you as I see Tamura. The sons I never had the chance to have. You've done well and still continue to. Midoriya cried as All For One and Kurogiri comforted him, letting the boy tell them why he was so emotional about all this. All For One had peered into Midoriya's memories already and knew the answer. To say he was disgusted by Midoriya's father would be an understatement, but he wanted to let Midoriya tell of his father for himself. Soon, All For One offered an idea to Midoriya that brightened the boy up almost immediately. Later that evening there was a knocking at the Midoriya household, and Ko opened the door to let a tired and yet unhappy-looking Aizawa into her home. She sat him down with a coffee and started talking while Midoriya sat at the dinner table eating and listening into their conversation. Displeased at Aizawa's presence in his home and his casual attitude toward his mother, but it wouldn't ruin his mood, not when he knew why he was here. In Ko Imai. Damn it, look, this isn't easy to say since most of us didn't like the guy after all he did to you and Izuku, but there was a villain who attacked your ex-husband's home. There wasn't a body, just dust. We believe he had a disintegration quirk. I'm sorry, Inko, Hisashi is dead. Midoriya dropped his cutlery and stared at Aizawa and just ran into his room upstairs as Inko cried deeply. She hated Hisashi too, yes, but not enough to hope he just up and died one day, especially like that. She knew Izuku hated Hisashi too, but clearly her little boy felt just as she did. Izuku leaned against his door grinning madly as tears went down his face. His tongue in agony from how hard he had to bite it to get these fake tears, but it was worth it. His father was as good as dead. Come tomorrow he would be anyway. Disintegration was far too good a way for him to go out. Besides, what he and the League had in mind was far more fitting. Inko had come on to check on Midoriya once or twice or maybe even 5 times. He'd lost count, but he never lost count of how many times Aizawa would check on him. What the hell did he live here now? Damn hobo-looking hero. Apparently Aizawa wanted to watch over the two to make sure the murder wasn't out for the blood of everyone in Midoriya's immediate family, so just him and Inko. Whatever, so long as that underground hero was out of his home by morning he didn't care. Strolling through the warp gate whistling a pleasant tune, Midoriya placed his suitcase on a table in one of the bar's back rooms and got dressed into his outfit and mask. Midoriya walked into the bar as if he owned the place. Today was his day and nobody was going to take it from him. He was greeted by Shigaraki dressed in his villain attire now with a golden fox mask. Kurogiri stood at the ready waiting on Midoriya's word. Being given a nod from Midoriya, a warp gate was opened to a very familiar cold steel room, but what Izuku met this time was a terrified man. No, not just any man, Hisashi. His despised father who had been brought here and his death faked so that Izuku could bring judgment upon the man himself. Izuku used his claws to act as extra legs, allowing him to stand higher than his father. Izuku grabbed him by the neck without the use of his quirk and threw him across the room. The clanking of Izuku's claws on the metal-plated ground loudly and quickly echoed through the room as he closed the distance, using his quirk this time to throw his father into the leftmost wall as he laughed uncontrollably, crying slightly beneath his mask. Who are you? You damned lunatic. Hisashi coughed out some blood as he shouted at the villain assaulting him over and over. Me. Why I'm called Tactic Kill. Izuku laughed more as he pulled Hisashi in using telekinesis. As the two came face to face, Izuku removed his helmet, smiling at his father with the tears of a twisted boy coming from his eyes. Izuku, Hisashi shouted, filled with rage at the monster of a child Inko gave birth to all those years ago. Izuku dropped Hisashi and knelt looking at something behind the horrid man. Hisashi felt something grab and drag him backwards away from Izuku as the boy rose, putting his helmet back on. Then he came face to face with a man in a finely tailored black suit, donning a terrifying black helmet. Careful now, Izuku, my boy. We wouldn't want to break this one too badly. Not before the procedures now, would we? All For One laughed, staring into the horror-filled eyes of Hisashi, as he dragged the man screaming away in Dr. Yujiko's lab with both Midoriya and Shigaraki following behind. All For One placed Hisashi into a tank that slowly filled with a clear liquid that definitely wasn't water. As Yujiko made himself known, he approached Midoriya. Ah, young Tactic Kill, so good to meet again. Now are you certain you wish me to do these procedures? Because once they are done, they cannot be undone. Midoriya nodded at Dr. Yujiko, who simply clapped at Midoriya's resolve. It took a few hours, but it was complete. Midoriya awaited the injection. Once administered, Midoriya could feel the recessive quirk genes from his father awakening and bonding with his telekinesis. Midoriya lifted a hand as he got up and a floating ball of flames appeared before him. Telekinetic flames, simply fascinating. I suppose his genes were good for something after all. Dr. Yujiko, I thank you. Now, you know what to do with my former father. It's an excellent idea to have my own Namu, Midoriya said, laughing toward Hisashi in the tank. All For One and Shigaraki started to share in Midoriya's laughter. All For One stood beside Midoriya, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. Outro. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We The Celestials has got you covered. Are We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.